This is the base of 3-cup chicken. Soy sauce, sesame oil, and either beer or sake. I like using sake. You can also use soju, but I really do enjoy the sake finish. I remember my father making this thing called 3-cup chicken. In Chinese, it's called San Bei Ji, and it would just be so comforting. So this is boneless, skinless chicken thighs. So you want to get both sides, salt and pepper. Okay, and you make sure you wash your hands. So you want to let it come up to room temperature, let it sit for 30 minutes. So the next thing you want to do is cut your ginger. What you'll want to do is use about 2 inches worth. And then you want to slice it pretty thin, but you don't really have to measure it. Just like this. Now you just want to put it aside. You know, part of the Taiwanese 3-cup chicken, basil is the key. I really enjoy using Thai basil. Thai basil gives it a more anise flavor. It's more licoricey. If you can't find it, you can use sweet basil instead. After these have been washed and dried, you can pluck the leaves, and then you would want to set it aside. Now you'll generally want a cup of these leaves, and they don't have to be cut. You could keep it whole, and you want to do it per pound of chicken. You'll want a cup. All right, so now that the chicken has been setting for about 30 minutes, it comes up to room temperature. That way, when it gets into the pot, you're able to then brown it on both sides, and it doesn't bring down the temperature of the sesame oil. Step 1, you want to turn on your stove to high, and you want to heat this up. If you have a cast iron pot, that would be great. If not, just a regular pot is fine. Okay, so you want to pour in your toasted sesame oil, and you would do all of it. So when you see it shimmer, what you want to do is then turn it down to medium, and then you want to add your ginger to it. And add it slowly because you don't want the oil to splash. And now that you've added it, you could put it back up to high. So what you want to do is you want the ginger to saute a little bit. It does take, I want to say, 30 seconds. You want to make sure that it becomes aromatic. So what we want to do is, now that the ginger has cooked down a little bit, you want to put the chicken in. And what you want to do is brown the sides. So you're not cooking it all the way through, but you're just making sure that it's browned. Well, you know what? It smells amazing. You smell that sesame oil, some of that ginger. It's just comforting. Now that the chicken's been browned on both sides, you want to remove it from the pan. What you want to do is add the soy sauce, careful. And then you also want to add the sake. And then once you've added those things, add your sugar. So this is 2 tablespoons of light muscovado sugar. That's the kind of sugar that I like to use. You can use any brown sugar or any white sugar that you like. What that does is it adds a little more flavor to the overall dish. And then once you've added the sugar and you stirred it around a little bit, you'll want to add the chicken back in. Bring the chicken up to boil. And once it's at boil, then you'll want to turn the heat down to simmer. And then you'll want to cover your pot for 20 minutes. In the original recipe that I learned from my father, he uses Budweiser, and that was one of his favorite beers. But for me, I like to use sake, and the reason why is because it provides a cleaner and sweeter finish to the chicken after you've braised it with soy sauce and sesame oil. Now that it's been 20 minutes, you want to add in your basil. So I'll add about a cup in here, and whole leaves are fine. You don't need to stir. You just put the lid back on and let it simmer for another 10 minutes. So it looks like it's ready. It's boiling. It smells amazing. That's perfect. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna serve this up, turn off the heat. You wanna serve this over rice. Put some of that juice in there and some of that chicken. There you go. Enjoy it.
Trying to think like how many times I've had this dish. Many times, but each time it's pretty different.
It is. Yeah, I mean, I've cooked it probably, I don't know, 20, 30 times over the last few years.
It's really neat that you have a family recipe that's been passed down. Because does your grandma have this recipe too then, your dad's mom?
You know, I don't recall her making this.
Okay, interesting. So it may have started with your dad.
It could have. I just remember when they were grad students, chicken was, meat in general was just so expensive. And so every once in a while, this would be a special dish that he would make. It's a good memory. Yeah. Whenever I make it, I think about my dad. And I think about I have a flashback to that tiny little apartment that they had as students.
And when I had this, it kind of broke some stereotypes of what Chinese food is. Because I'm Korean and the flavors, it's interesting because I do see a commonality between this and the Korean dish. What is it? Dakbokkeumtang. Marinated chicken because of the ginger.
Yes.
Right? Ginger is such a common ingredient, I think, in Asian cultures.
Koreans, they use it in kimchi. They use it in a lot of different dishes. And it's the base. It's of a lot of different sauces.
This is delicious. And it really is so fascinating that it tastes different every single time you cook it.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
I don't know. Maybe it's just dependent on my mood.
All right, you're in a very good mood today. This is very good.
Thank you.
You can find more at onedetroitpbs.org or subscribe to our social media channels and sign up for our One Detroit newsletter.